Hi, everybody. All right, I'm going to talk about, I think, a sensitive topic. Um, it's about intuition and the fact that I think all of us watching this value our intuition probably more than uh, the average person, perhaps. That's why we're watching a video about intuition or spiritual things. Because we know that intuition has often guided us to our highest good, given us messages that we really needed to hear in our lives, um, gave us ideas that seem out of the blue and yet prove to be highly beneficial to us and deeply true. And of course, intuition is, it's such a unique and part of us and connected to our soul's voice. Um, some people might say that intuition is the only way for hearing the soul's voice or the higher consciousness voice or the divine guidance. But I like to suggest that we take a more uh, wider approach. So rather than being, this is the only way, which essentially is fundamentalism. And so I'd like to introduce a term called intuitive fundamentalism. And it's you might say it's a spiritual religion or worldview where one considers one's dialogue, inner dialogue, the dialogue with one's spiritual guidance, divine voice, to be of utmost truthfulness. And if that were the case, then of course all other external sources of knowledge and wisdom must come under the truthfulness of so-called divine or intuitive guidance, right? Because if that's like, my truth, if my truth were the highest truth for my life, then everything else around me, scientific studies, what someone else says, even what reality presents, has to be has to be evaluated against the ultimate truth, which is my intuitive guidance, what divine spirit or my spirit guide is telling me through my journaling, my automatic writing, my own sort of voice in my head, right? And um, and this reminds me of that. Have you seen that cartoon? And I wish I found the cartoon. But imagine that someone were looking, someone, let's say someone lost their keys on the street, and they are looking for their keys in the dark. It's at night. They're looking for their keys that they dropped on the street, and they're only looking at the place where there's a street light. So imagine this person looking on the ground, and there's a street light shining down from the street lamp, shining down in this one circular area, and they're just looking at that one area for the key. Well, I guess that's to me that's like intuitive guidance, because your obviously your intuitive voice, your divine voice, or your perception of divine voice or spirit guide or higher consciousness is within the spotlight of your consciousness, the spotlight of your awareness. And so if you say that is the light from above, that's the only light from above, and I should only look in that circle, then you are in the fallacy of this, the street light fallacy, which is, again, someone losing their keys and only looking for it in that circle of light, when the keys might be just outside the circle. In the dark, if they had looked more carefully in the darker places outside the light, or find a way to shine a light. And of course, someone says, well, that exactly is the dialogue with one's inner voice or intuitive guidance, is to shine the light elsewhere outside the spotlight. Okay, all right, you can say that if you like. But I'd like to offer you a couple of thoughts on this, which is I, I, here's the possibility that divine guidance is being given. Well, do you agree with me? Divine guidance is being given not just to you, in the entire world, and in the history of human beings. Divine guidance has been given, intuition, higher consciousness, truth, truth with a capital T, the deepest wisdom has been accessed by probably billions of human beings in history, might you say? Obviously, some seem to have a clearer access to it than others. Yes, of course. But it's been accessed by more than just you. Would you agree? If you don't agree, I guess that would be called solipsistic spirituality. I'm the only one actually living in this universe for my truth to be true. Anyway, so you're not the only one who's gotten intuitive guidance over millennia, thousands of years, right? And so I think, well, gosh, if I'm not the only one who's gotten divine guidance, intuitive guidance, wouldn't it be wiser to also tap into the divine guidance, intuitive inner voice dialogue of many, 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 many other people? Just like I imagine you might be presenting your own intuitive guidance and inner voice dialogues and spirit guide, spirit guide wisdom with other people too. Think about this, right? You're presenting your own intuitive guidance to other people as a data point, as a clue into, well, this is a piece of the puzzle, and if it helps you fit your puzzle together, wonderful, right? Just like, so you don't expect, let's say you are working with clients on helping with their intuitive guidance. You don't expect that they completely will not listen to you at all. No, they'll probably listen to what's come through in your guidance, paired with what's come through with their guidance, and maybe the intuitive guidance of other people that they respect and trust, maybe other teachers, maybe other their family members, or other people that, close friends that they deeply trust. So I call this, not I call this, but let's call this collective divine guidance. Okay? Collective GPS. Well, actually, GPS is an interesting thought, right? Because GPS is essentially collective guidance, right? Like if someone were creating a map and there's only one person who goes out and creates a map of the world, they're probably going to miss quite a lot. Well, first of all, it's going to take them forever to get to the entire world. It take them, and more than a lifetime, I'm sure. It's like, okay, well, let's all collectively go out and map the world. And in fact, just this one neighborhood, let's have 3 people go and map this neighborhood. And then let's collectively bring our maps together to see what each other missed, so we can see more of the reality with a capital R, more of the collective truth, to say, okay, that's, and then maybe a 4th person, 5th person can go and verify that this map is correct. So speaking of reality, it seems to me that reality is divine feedback. What do I mean by that? When you have some guidance, or when you access some guidance from other people, maybe collective guidance, okay, throughout millennia, think about this. Spiritual people throughout millennia have received divine gift and been really clear with their inner voice and the higher consciousness, and have written down or spoken, and that wisdom has been passed down through generations. And if you follow guidance, whether it's your own guidance or paired together with collective guidance, and it works in life, for example, divine guidance says, don't jump off a cliff. Divine guidance says, collective guidance says, don't put your hand into a fire and just hold it there. It will hurt, it will burn. Divine guidance also, collective guidance also has said, treat other people the way that you like to be treated, or don't do to other people what you don't like being done to you. And we live that out in the world, and we find that to be useful, to be beneficial, to be to prove the other guidance that we have received from ourselves and from outside sources as well. So, for example, practicing the golden rule, we go, sometimes it doesn't seem to work out, right? But then over time, we look at it. Okay, so I've just introduced another element, which is time. But let's continue. Let's say we are practicing the divine guidance of, um, waking with the sun, perhaps. I don't know, this is kind of random. But we say, oh, it seems to work well when I wake with the light, when it's light, when it's, during the day, I'm about doing activities, and at night, when it's dark, I go to sleep. Humanity has said that seems to work for most people because it's efficient. We don't use as much resources, but also, our bodies have been attuned to this, most bodies, not all bodies. And of course, collective guidance has also shown that certain people are different, and those people live differently. Some people are night owls, and they seem to be more creative at night, and whatever. So, but that's also collective guidance has shown that to us. Time I introduced as um, the the way that divine guidance is also given to us through trial and error, through time, to say, well, I know the golden rule is good, but I treated this person so well and they treated me badly. Okay. All right. Okay. It seems like that's true in the short term. And then in the longer term, we might find, oh, wait a second. That person started to come around and treat me nice now, or treat me the way that I would like to be treated after it took me 10 years of loving this person before they were transformed, or maybe they never did, and then we pop out after we die, and we pop out into our spiritual view and soul view and saw that, oh, it was our life's mission, or one of the purpose of our life is to love this person, even though it loved this being, even though it didn't love us back the same way we wanted to. It was a work that our soul wanted to do. Whatever. Time, the longer the time span, the more truth that we have, because we see many, many experiences and many, many correlations and all that stuff. And so experimentation is, I think, part of the divine dialogue, right? Dialoguing with the divine through the feedback loop of reality, of experimenting with different things and seeing what works and what doesn't, and doing it again and again over a long period of time, which is why, again, collective divine guidance is so useful, because if we are to experiment with everything to find all truth, right, only with our divine inner voice or whatever to find truth, then gosh, it's going to take us a lifetime to find some basic things that may have already been discovered if we were humble enough or willing enough to look outside of our own spotlight voice. Um, so it's really the action, I think, of moving from my truth to the truth, the truth where my truth fits within the truth. Reality is saying this, what's true for everyone, including some people are special, some people are different, some situations are different, but that's included in the overall picture of reality. And I'll end this by offering some mental biases that we need to watch out for in order to move from my truth to the truth, right? From my inner voice to the reality of which encompasses my inner voice as well. And a couple of things that you might find interesting. Confirmation bias. These are all mental illusions that I have to be aware of myself. Confirmation bias is we tend to favor information about our existing beliefs. So we interpret dreams and thoughts that are in our head, and we interpret even reality with whatever we already want to believe. And so we tend to, and it's like that's why we have political camps. Like people only see the news based on their own political views, and so this is why it's such a hard time for people to collaborate, right? So confirmation bias is very dangerous for reality as a whole, and for collaboration, and for really understanding wisdom and truth, in my opinion. Availability heuristic is to judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily it comes to mind. So if we often get some kind of intuitive hit on something, even if it's actually random, if we were to scientifically look at it, because maybe because of confirmation bias, we weren't taking in intuitive hits about other things. but we just remember certain things and we say, well, that must be the truth. Right? Availability heuristic is also. Um, Subjective validation is perceiving information as more credible if it has personal meaning to us. Well, I think that's a hard one, because when we when we whatever we know, you know, when we learn something, we can only understand it if it's part of what we already know. And so this is a really tough one. So we have to be humble enough to be continually going, I don't know about that, or I don't understand that. Well, let me go and understand that if it's part of my if it seems to be part of my reality now. Correlation versus causation. Sometimes we put two things together that really aren't causing each other, or this thing isn't really causing that. It's just correlated rather than causing each other. And finally, I'll say belief perseverance is somebody who this is especially true if your career depends on a particular framework, to say, no, this framework about personal growth is the only right framework, or the most true framework, right? And the framework that, that's going to be mine for the rest of my life, my career. Then we persevere with that belief, even though we might be getting, well, guess what? Intuitive hits or reality might be telling us to look more broadly so we can grow our framework and grow our beliefs. And so, anyway, I hope this is helpful. I am subject to these biases and my own intuitive fundamentalism. But may this be helpful for all of us to continue growing into our greatest potential and our highest good. Thank you so much for joining me in this journey. I look forward to seeing your comments and feedback as well.